Welcome everybody to Link to the Past, already in progress. Link to the Past Randomizer, race between NYRambler and SirBeaterOfArse. I am your host, Ridley Dragon. With me is the wonderful Raiko Ryder.
Good evening, everybody. I am Raiko Ryder, and we will guide you through tonight's race between NYRambler and SirBeaterOfArse.
So it looks like King of Burna was our uncle item. Again, this is randomized swords. The uncle will have a weapon to get through it. This is not one of the easier ones. King of Burna is one you can easily drain your magic on.
So to provide a little bit of history about both of these runners, both NYRambler and SirBeaterOfArse, both of them played in the Fall 2017 Open Tournament. Rambler lost the play-in race. Was a three-way race for 2 spots. And Beater did manage to make brackets in secondary. He made top 32 and was eliminated by Failstream in that round.
Alright, both of them making pretty short work of the Ball and Chain Knight. Getting a key from the chest next to Zelda. I was both using custom sprites today. Rambler using Will from Secret Mana? No. Illusion of Gaia, which is a game I love and just brain farted on. And Beater using Esperterra from Final Fantasy VI.
And speaking of other games that Rambler runs, he is interested in learning Secret of Evermore.
Both these runners right now a little low-ish on magic, but there are some magic pots, I believe, forced in the sewers, and they only need to kill one more enemy before they go out into the world. And the rat is not very hard to kill with the King of Burna. Though you would prefer to have a bomb.
These runners are going to be looking for a bomb drop, but given their weapon is the Cane of Burna, which has limited magic, both of these runners are probably going to need to come back to the back of Escape for the 3 items after picking up the glove.
The way you can do this, you play it safe until you get to that rat room and then you kill every rat. Oh, Rambler using a bit on that, and he gets a bomb!
If there's something important in Escape, that could make a big difference early game.
The Fire Rod in the Dark Rune chest. It's a nice early item. Beater just getting the key with the last of his magic. But no bombs, so he's gonna have to come back. We'll see if this is a major difference right now. Just money, which is nice early on, but isn't going to change the world.
Now, some players with that 300 rupee would consider possibly doing a Houlihan to guarantee getting that 500 rupees and possibly doing an early Zora check. That is certainly an option. It's a little bit less appealing in standard mode than it is in open. but it's certainly an option that a Rambler has at this point.
Just some arrows from the tree pull, and I saw a crystal on Eastern Palace, and pendants on the other 2 Light World dungeons, so we're going to have a lot of Dark World dungeons to do, and the crab has bombs, that always helps. Alright, the lumberjack item is a piece of heart, so no need to do agony for that reason. Alright, as they both head into Lost Woods now. Just 20 rupees on the cave, and a full heart in the mushroom spot. Always nice to get those full hearts early. Obviously it gives you more life.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen many seeds in past tournaments with runners going around Dark World dungeons with 5 or 6 hearts, and it's just no fun whatsoever, even if you have blue armor.
So there's a bit of a difference in going into that side room. Rambler has 300 rupees, and Beater does not. He only has 44, so he's going to get a little bit lucky with the rupees to be able to buy out the bottle vendor. Probably will, considering the amount of chests, but you never know. Oh, the sword in Blind's hut, so... Nice early sword. And 50 rupees, so that... More than likely, that side entrance is not very consequential. Into the well. Just some rupees right now. Oh, and a sword upgrade on the bottle vendor. So we're already at Master Sword in Kakariko Village.
Always nice to have at least level 2 sword, because going around with fighter sword or even no sword, especially if your weapon is the hammer.
House.
Early mirror is going to be great. These runners will have no trouble at all routing Dark World.
Yeah, we still need a lot of items to access Dark World yet. That's one of them, the silver gloves in the tavern. This is a polite Kakariko village.
Well, polite Kakariko has no indication whatsoever about the overall rudeness of the seed.
That is correct, but it does make the beginning of the seed less nasty. Just the 20 rupees in the borders, and we're gonna head down to the race to check out what's there. Nope, just another 20 rupees, and that will lead Beater at least to save and quit out to what I presume would be a South Hyrule tour.
This is a very common route. After completing race game, unless you have shovel, Most runners will save and quit and go to the dam and mini Moldorm Cave. From there is where things will get interesting. You'll see some runners ignore Ice Rod Cave and try to save it until after they have Flute, and you'll see some runners immediately check Ice Rod Cave and then fake Flipper into Lake Hylia to check the island item as well as Hobo. And then depending on what you have, will determine where you go. With the items that the runners have right now, depending on their comfort with dark rooms, Death Mountain may be an option, but more likely they'll be taking a quick trip into Eastern Palace afterward.
And unless I get the Moon Pearl, I don't think I would bother with Ice Cave quite yet either. Ice Cave is worth it if you can go up, if you have Moon Pearl and you can get up, you can fake Flipper up to the Zora area and get almost everything. And get a lot of rupees. Although that Ice Palace room, by the statistics recently released, very often has an item. Alright, mini Moldorm room. Not a lot going on so far, just some money. Oh, and the flippers! So we don't need to worry about fake flippers at all. And also the paper plate shield. Not terribly useful on its own, but a nice step on the way to getting better shields. And there we have some right divergence here, but Rambler wasting no time in jumping into the water to check the island and the Hobo. Half magic on the island, that would be something to keep in mind.
That can be very difficult to route to. It depends on how quickly the two runners get funneled into Ice Palace.
Yep. And it also depends on if they wind up having to enter through the hammer pegs by Pipe Cave. Alright, Hobo has a piece of heart. Ice Cave has nothing but 20 rupees. Beater opting to grind for some rupees in on the cave outside of the Ice Palace Cave? No, the Ice Rod Cave. And Beater does not opt to jump into the lake. He will continue on. I believe he's going to try to hula hand right now. And there he goes. So in case you don't know, the Chris Houlihan room is a glitch handling error room where if the game can't figure out where you should go after entering it, they'll drop you there. You'll always come out at Link's house. Unfortunately, with the flippers, Beater can't actually go to the Houlihan room that way. You would need to jump into that lake 3 or 4 times to shift the screen down. You can Houlihan by bombing your way into the pit where you go to get back to the back of Escape.
This is actually one of the reasons why, if you're going to Houlihan, you'll want to do it as soon as possible. And that's why it's more common to see Chris Houlihan in Open than it is in Standard, just because you're going to naturally run into more items by the time you're able to very easily route to the place where you would set up the flipperless Houlihan.
And in the Waterfall Fairy room, there was the Book of Medora and a bottle containing green potion. Oh, and on the ledge at Zora is the hookshot. Rambler is going to take a lead here. Beater, meanwhile, going through the dark way to Death Mountain. But with no hookshot or hammer, he's just going to be able to get the save point and kind of have to leave after checking Spectacle Rock. It's a $50 bill from your grandpa on your birthday. Well, he does have mirror, so he can go up to Hera. Cannot go to East F Mountain at this moment. Alright, Rambler's going to head straight to Desert Palace area. Having the book, you can at least check the ledge and the top of the Akina's cave. Turned into Porky Pig for a second there. Meanwhile, heading into Hera early, finding a small key on the basement room. It's not necessarily what you want to see. And he's going to opt to do the tile room. This is a pendant dungeon. Rambler going into a different pendant dungeon. He's going to head right into Desert Palace. 2 chests there. I didn't get a good look at what was on the ledge. It might be something useful. That's just 300 rupees. Alright. Beater's going to continue his way up Tower of Hera. Meantime, Rambler gonna start heading up to Death Mountain Dark? Nope. He's heading east. He's gonna turn the bottle at Sick Kid.
Probably a good time to route that. I would not be surprised, especially if he is comfortable with the Death Mountain dark rooms, to go up there with his hookshot, because that's a lot of items.
Yeah, that's 11 items to be precise. Silver arrows, though, on the Sick Kid.
It shouldn't take too terribly long for a beater to route back there once he does find a bottle. There are 4 possible bottles that he could locate, and I'm sure
get one right now.
I'm sure Rambler is relieved to see silver arrows, because no one likes doing silverless Ganon.
A lot of people are kind of resigned to it, but no one likes it.
Looks like Rambler is making a trip to Eastern while Beater finishes up Tower of Hera.
See what's in Salad Shooter's hut here. And he learns where the last pendant is. The last pendant is in Misery Mire.
Nice kill by Beater on Moldorm. Blue armor and the Moon Pearl. There's the Moon Pearl. So now with a Moon Pearl and a Power Glove.
You still need the glove upgrade or the hammer.
Yes, we do need one more item for Dark World access.
Or a Dead Agony.
It's a little unusual for no Dark World access quite yet, and Aga 1 does take 4.5 minutes to kill, so while they do technically have Dark World access, I think these runners are going to search for a gold glove or a hammer before actually diving into the Dark World.
They will assuredly want to get the lamp before they even attempt Agony's Tower. That is the least fun Dark Zone.
So I think that as soon as you find...
Get the first item in Eastern Palace.
If you do find Lantern, it's something you definitely need to consider with a number of locations that are remaining for both of these runners. And Beater picking up his blue armor and Moon Pearl as well. And going up to 7 hearts from 4th heart piece.
Always a plus. And 2 items already in Eastern Palace. That is a full heart. Only 1 item remains. There could be a progression item on Zora himself. No one actually turned in the money for King Zora.
Wouldn't it be something if Rambler's Houlihan was the difference in progression in this seed?
You mean his his escape room?
Or the escape room, rather.
Yep. It would be something. Oh, so that can't be progression in that last chest in Eastern. Well, it could be, but it wouldn't be logicked in right now.
I think what these runners want to see most at this point is probably hammer.
I would settle for gold gloves.
Gold glove too, but you also don't want to have to look everywhere for the hammer.
Nope.
One of those things that can really bottleneck seeds late is if you have a hammer that's buried someplace silly, like Ice Palace.
The worst place I've ever seen a hammer is in the bomb chest of Swamp Palace.
Oh, yes, it can absolutely be there. I believe I've seen it there once.
Yep. It's no fun when it's there because you really don't want to check Swamp Palace.
And Rambler finding the 3rd item in the Eastern Palace, it's a piece of heart, so he is done there for now. Looks like he is making the conclusion to go to Zora.
Yeah, Zora has to have a progression item of some type.
Well, either Zora or it's on the pyramid ledge.
No, it would need to be a lamp then.
True. And the Beater should come to that same conclusion as soon as he picks up this piece of heart in Eastern. So overall, even though they went in 2 different directions, it's still relatively close. Oh, there's our lantern.
That's not the one you wanted to see there.
So with lantern,
Climb the mountain.
I think you have to go to... I think you go up... I think you have to go up Death Mountain.
Yeah, climb the mountain. Not sure what Beater's doing.
He
He's getting
probably
money.
doesn't. Oh, this is actually a really smart play because
Yeah.
he needs Zora money.
Everyone, including me, just now forgets that there's some money there.
Because the farm spot's pretty far out of the way. The one by desert is the fastest place to get money if you need a lot of money, and it looks like that might be where he's headed, is to go get 100 rupees for the thief in the desert and then head up to Zora to get his lantern.
So this is going to determine whether we need Agony 1 or not. If any of these 11 locations, none of them have progression, which is not impossible. Then I think we're out of locations outside of Agony.
So Rambler up here really wants to see either a hammer or a gold glove.
And he's unfortunately not going to. Beater has already been here. But we haven't checked these yet.
As far as overall time difference goes, it shouldn't make too big a difference in the long term, because as this is a very lucrative location, Beater is going to check East F Mountain at some point.
Beater also routed in the desert rupee farming into a desert check. A game check.
Big 20 from the skies. Not what he wanted to see.
Do you head into Hera here? He's going to. I wonder if he's just going to check those first 2 chests, or if he's going to do the whole thing. Remember, he's going to have to go down to the tile room if he wants to do the whole dungeon.
I think what he's doing here, if he continues, I can see an argument either way, because given what he has checked, it's kind of hard to route back here. So I definitely see the logic either way. The advantage to clearing Hera now is he can just jump down after he's finished with Hera and go straight to Eastern Death Mountain and do a save and quit, instead of having to come back here possibly. And all things considered, Hera is usually pretty quick to finish, so he probably doesn't want to find out that about the pedestal later and have to come back.
Peter getting his bottle and his book.
Then he should pick up his items, so we should see...
This will be a virtual tie after this.
It should be evened up, but any lead in this race is going to heavily depend on what's on East Death Mountain.
I don't think there's any situation where Beater's not going to check East Death Mountain before he does Agony Mountain, so I don't think it'll matter.
Just in terms of routing, because I do like Rambler's routing decisions here. It is definitely a gamble clearing out a Hera. But from his perspective, given how little he has left, plus he doesn't want to come back here later if the pedestal does happen to be required.
Right.
And with the current logic, the pedestal is required more often than you think it is.
But with Meyer being one of the pendant dungeons, I don't don't know if I like the odds of pedestal being required. I mean, we're talking about it would have to be Ice Rod, or I suppose the bow could be on there, right?
There's,
and of course, the medallion opens with T-Rock, but not Meyer.
you know, what would be really evil? Hammer. Can't Hammer be there?
You're right. Meyer doesn't need any hammer. Ooh. Boy, that would be rough. Randler gets his red medallion, and Beater's gonna go straight to east. He's already completed Hera. Again, this is pretty much a tie.
So these runners here are really hoping to see a Dark World access that does not involve Aga 1.
Well, this location will probably tell us. Cape doesn't improve things.
Not at all. If anything, well, they already have 2 swords.
2 swords. Those are in 3 locations.
So it's just this and Spiral Cave left up here. So fingers crossed. Well,
the Ice Rod.
There's the Ice Rod. Pretty sure they're happy to see that, because that can be anywhere except at Trinex.
Oh, we just have Spiral Cave to check now. Then after that, we're gonna have to climb Hackingham's Tower.
So these runners not far apart at all. See if Beater gets this bomb jump.
No problem.
Nicely done. That is not an easy bomb jump to do either. And Rambler going for it as well.
No problem.
Well done, both runners.
Yeah, it's not a particularly painful one to miss. You just have to take a small walk of shame, but I'm on the floating island, just a piece of heart, so we won't see that again.
So our runners going into a Spiral Cave just a few seconds apart. We're only 35 minutes in or so, and this race is already exciting. Look at this sink.
It's probably the least fun version of Spiral Cave.
Oh, the best Spiral Caves are the ones that have the boots.
And a full hearts, we are going to Aghanim. And with a hook shot, they have access to the full breadth of Dark World after Aghanim.
Oh, you know what? Beater has not checked Ether Tablet,
yep.
So he's going to go back and check Ether Tablet. So it looks like Rambler is going to have a bit of a lead. Not much of one, though. About 30-ish, 30 to 45 seconds.
Beater also has not checked Sick Kid, so I imagine Beater will be going back there too.
That's an easy location to forget about, especially late.
That depends on whether you click it off in your tracker by accident.
Even with a tracker, though, it's just easy to forget about. Rambler taking full advantage of the fire rod to take out those gold guards. Those are not fun with just the Master Sword.
Another way to do it is the NMG way, which you just kind of sit at the door and wait for them to be in the right position so you can double spin attack them and kill them quickly.
It's still time consuming.
It is much more time consuming than using a fire rod. This is the room why you don't want to do this dark.
And people try to say doing the maze in Palace of Darkness isn't fun. This is far. The Palace of Darkness maze is still pretty hard to do in the dark, but this is far worse.
There's also absolutely no excuse for doing this dark. You should be checking every other possible location before climbing this. Well, alright, actually there may be one exception if something like the hammer is on the lumberjack ledge and you have the boots. You want to just get to that quick.
I've never seen it come up in a tournament race, though.
Me neither. Oh, Beater's gonna didn't actually walk in the Desert Palace, or Beater's gonna walk in the Desert Palace. Rambler's gonna open a bit of a lead here. While Rambler's just climbing and Beater's going over desert again, I'll just give a quick shout out to our tracker. That is Kippy00. Thank you.
The tracking for Link to the Past is a lot of work, and it often goes without thanks. So all of our trackers are very much appreciated.
Right,
Now, Beater has come to the conclusion that this is an AGA 1 seed.
With the mirror, that makes us a little bit painful in terms of saving and quitting.
Yes. One of the caveats to defeating AGA 1 is it does change your save and quit position from any of the 3 positions in the light world to the pyramid ledge, which is not a great place to restart.
Well, it's great in one very specific instance.
Generally speaking.
The very last instance of the game. I remember making short work of Agony.
Just a heart piece on the ledge. So from here...
He's got the hook shot, he can go to all Dark Worlds.
Yes. From here, he'll probably go around the horn in the Southwest Dark World, pick up all the chests there, and
certainly do the cape room too, and you can do the ledge overlooking Sanctuary.
Right, because they have the mirror. So this is actually going to route in some pretty troublesome locations. The only drawback to this is, as out of the way as it is, this does leave Catfish isolated.
And also will leave behind King's Tomb. So that's not so hard to get to from the Light World or the Sanctuary.
Not particularly. You just need Gold Glove, but it would be quite a troll if you had to find boots somewhere and the Gold Glove is down there.
Just a piece of heart.
depending on his comfort level, as well as the pendant crystal layout for Dark World, because I don't believe we've seen a map check from Rambler yet.
We do know where the crystals are, however. We know for a fact. I think he talked to Sarshala, and the green pendant was in Mire.
True. So, there's Hammer at Bumper Cave. That's very good. So that eliminates that from the pedestal. I actually would not be surprised, given that he has a blue armor and a healthy amount of hearts. I would not be surprised to see a Rambler go to Skullwoods from here.
Yeah, why not? Yep. Got the fire rod.
The health is a little low, but it's very doable. It depends on his comfort level with Mothula. RPG Jerkbird not agreeing, though.
No. At this point, what could be on the pedestal? The medallion for Mire?
I think that's it.
Yeah, so it's pretty eliminated. He might take a look anyway because he's going to be here.
Exactly. If you have Mirror and Book coming out of Skullwoods, there is no reason not to check pedestal. I guess Bo could be there too still, but...
That's very true. Bo can absolutely be there.
So we're about to see if the pinball room is required in Skullwoods. One of the caveats to this dungeon, and it looks like that room is required. The room that is to the east of the room that Rambler is in right now has a treasure chest that is guaranteed to be a key. The reason why this is guaranteed to be a key is because you can fall into this room from above, and if this room does not have a key in it, the only way to leave this room would be to save and quit. Rambler does need to watch his health, though. He's down to 2 hearts. And I don't believe he has any backup.
He has a green potion and a magic cape if he needs to. Also, he could just take an intentional death at certain points in this dungeon.
Probably the best time to take an intentional death would be at the start of the back of Skullwoods. Yep. And I would not be surprised to see him do that with his current health situation. And he'll probably want to try to save his magic for the fire rod on Mothula, because having a ranged attack in that fight, especially one that usually winds up pushing the boss away from the spikes, helps out a ton.
Oh, no King of Samaria here, so you're gonna have to go ahead and do this the vanilla way, which is never that pleasant. Intentional death right here.
That's a great place to do it as well, because it saves a room transition. That, and you don't have to push the statue out of the way again.
Beater following in his footsteps, gonna go get the hammer.
Then he will probably wind up going through Skullwoods. So that the big difference in this race so far has been the double dip of the Zora's Domain area. That's the only real difference we've seen.
Yeah, the double dip actually working in Rambler's favor. Well, it took more time to go back to Zora. It made routing the other parts of the light world much faster.
Rambler probably going to need to use his potion in this room.
I don't know. He can get the 2 pickups there, use his lamp on the 3 torches, and then use the fire rod on the last. It's gonna be close. Oh, we got it.
He has enough for it, but he'll also probably want that potion for the Mothula fight itself, because having the fire rod for that makes that fight significantly easier. Just being able to push him away from the wall.
Be able to score a couple of hits off this magic I'll pick up though.
Because one of the side effects of the fire rod is the flame that it shoots out. Its hitbox stays active a little bit longer.
Rambler opting for safety strats here. He's going to use the cape to prevent damage and try to sword him, but he's not getting enough hits on him. Now he's out of everything.
He is out of everything. He's in trouble.
He got it!
Nice fight. Way to clutch that out. And is rewarded with just 10 arrows.
Rewarded with not having to go back and get that chest.
And so we should see a pedestal check from a Rambler.
Yep. So stop our idle banter about the pedestal. We'll get a real answer.
Just 3 bombs.
All right, so he's gonna need to go get the pendants to get those 3 bombs, so he can blow up the bottom of the walls and he's blow up. Oh man, he just got bombs stolen from him. Now he really needs those 3 bombs.
And with that hammer, he will be able to get direct access to Village of Outcasts, and I would not be surprised to see him make a play on Thieves Town, especially with that hammer, so he'll be able to check the big chest if it comes to it as well.
What you're hoping for now in progression, I believe, would be the gold gloves, right?
Gold Glove would open up Ice Palace. Wow, what a scam that chest game is today.
Yeah, it's so rigged. Just $1. You want that? You want cane? You always want boots. Well, okay.
Speaking of boots, but that does assure that Beater will find those as soon as he makes his way over to Village of Outcasts, which shouldn't take him too long. Just a Mothula fight away. And Beater's health situation is significantly better as well.
Some people call that a commentary curse, but for the boots, that's a commentary blessing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Boots is one of those items that you just want to see as soon as possible.
Don't need the flute. Do need the bow. Bow is the other thing you want to see. Hammer, the shovel is not something you ever really want to see at all. But here we are.
And Beater drinking his potion as well. decides to go with the Cane of Burna, which will actually do damage to Mothula, gets the job done. Will claim his 10 arrows and the Crystal of Skullwoods, and should be following the footsteps of Rambler into Thieves Town. There's no reason not to do this now. It's a crystal dungeon, and you have everything to complete it.
And it's one of the easier dungeons in the game.
It can still be pretty scary on 7 hearts green.
Very true.
But with 9 hearts blue or 9 hearts blue or 10 hearts blue in Beater's case, it makes sense to clear it out now.
But it sure ain't Cold Stare or Vitreous.
And it's really when you get into Ice Palace and Misery Mires where the difficulty of the game increases, especially if you're doing low percent, because those are dungeons where the developers expect you to have blue mail.
Cold Stare, also, the way he moves is kind of evil. Remember, getting the key in the dungeon, so you will be able to check the basement big chest. So no threat of having to double dip here.
As long as you have the hammer, the position of the small key should never be an issue, because
small key on blind and progression item in the big chest.
Can the small
I don't think so, because you can key lock yourself. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
No,
it's not possible for the.
It totally is, because you get the key that opened the door that gets to both blinded upstairs or in pots right in front of them.
Right.
You can't soft block yourself that way. Mushroom.
We have a mushroom.
Also, you can go do that or now. Okay, or can you without? I think you need the cane of Samaria actually for the glitch, right?
I believe you need the red cane. But what this does add a little bit more value to is it makes checking catfish a little bit less painful, because you can route in dropping the mushroom off. But their routing is not going to take them that way until possibly after Palace of Darkness. And there's a lot of items coming up. Rambler about to fight blind. Whereas Beater is just beginning Thieves Town. So Rambler about a dungeon ahead.
Give or take. And then we're going to go with easy mode for the last part. Turn Cane of Burna and make sure it works.
This fight, if you're under-equipped for it, can be incredibly scary. And dying in Thieves Town to blind is a significant time loss that we've seen in both this tournament and in past tournaments make the difference between winning and losing.
Alright, Rambler's going to continue his partial world tour at least. Heading straight south.
Still no gold glove, which is really unusual. Usually you see both of the lift upgrades pretty quickly.
Well, got a bunch of items to check. Kind of a hype cave you have to check.
All the Dark World shops this time around are just scams.
The chat is pointing out that you're right, blind definitely can't have a small key because you can theoretically steal the key in front of the upstairs room. There's the bug net for NYRambler. It's a nice safety item. And go downstairs and then key lock yourself. Thank you, Iranian.
So one nice thing about having the shovel for going around the horn in the Dark World is you'll be able to route in at the dig spot if you have the mirror. So speaking of mirrors, for those of you that want difficult routing practice, the Randomizer helps out a lot with that. One of the fastest ways to improve your routing is making seeds where the mirror is in Ganon's tower. And then one of the other items that makes routing easier, such as flute. Mirrorless Fluteless is a great way to practice getting better at routing. But routing in this particular case, especially for Dark World, has been much of a non-factor because of the way... because of AGA 1 being required, there weren't really too many real options for the runners as soon as AGA 1 happened, because they had everything they need to complete the dungeons that are on their path. So why not complete them now?
Hype Cave had more money than Al Capone's vault this time. But not much else. And Rambler found a way to route in his half magic.
This is great. This is a great way to throw that back in, and it'll be interesting to see where he heads from here. He can't get into Ice Palace because he doesn't have Gold Glove, and it looks like he just realized that. I think you would. I think at this point,
do you tag in to Summit Pod?
No, I would do Swamp first.
Oh, he has the means to do Swamp. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
You go to... And I would not be surprised if at this point the bow is in there.
Nope, had a brain fart and forgot he had the hookshot. I know, six items, the chest density, the dungeon's not long, it's not hard.
There are definitely pros and cons to doing Swamp, but at this point, because you're missing Bow and Cane of Samaria and the... Well, Flute is not necessarily required, but it's 6 chests, and while it does take a lot of time to full clear Swamp, it's just too lucrative.
A lot shorter than trying to double dip Palace of Darkness. Which is probably one of the worst double dips you can do outside of Turtle Rock. Just because of the walk.
And Beater finding his bug net. So the only real safety that's missing is Powder. Well, we are missing Red Mail as well, which is technically a safety, but... Oh, there's the Gold Glove in Swamp. So that will open up pretty much the rest of the world. There are a couple of things that are still blocked, such as Turtle Rock. You can't actually get anywhere in Turtle Rock without either the Cane of Samaria or a very, very long hover.
I would call that an unreasonable hover. Like, that's the kind of hover that would get a GDQ room to give you a standing ovation. We're looking for Bow, and we're looking for Cane of Samaria, and I think we're in Go mode after that. Well, we don't exactly know what the medallion is on Turtle Rock. If it's Bombos, we need that too.
I imagine after Palace of Darkness. Oh, there's Tempered for Rambler, so this should make for some easier late game dungeons as well. And Rambler is going straight to the end, not bothering to check the. Left side, at least not now.
At least not now. I'm seeing this more and more where racers will head downstairs and see what's in these chests first, especially if you don't have the big key yet. And if it winds up being a whole bunch of maps or, I should say dungeon items, I guess there's only one map, then you head back up and go left side. But if you start getting item after item after item, you're lowering your odds of needing to do that left side at all. Big key. Oh, did not go up the stairs.
He's, at this point, committing to coming back.
That he is.
Because with that big chest and the 2 chests on the other side in play, there is at least 1 item that he is leaving behind.
Yeah, and considering that you need 2 items for go mode, I don't know if I love that play.
So it'll be interesting to see what Beater does. If Beater goes to the left side first, then this could be a big turning point in the race. Which would be very interesting, because up until now, it's been one of those very linear seeds where the most efficient route has actually... The theoretical most efficient route has not gotten our runners in any kind of trouble whatsoever. Which tends to make the outcome of the race depend more on execution than routing, because routing has been pretty easy for the most part in this seed.
It's been pretty almost the same between our 2 runners as well. See if Beater goes left. Rambler's gonna go in too.
Rambler's going back in.
Beater just
this is actually a really heads-up play, because since he has Aga 1 killed, he can actually leave this area. He can save and quit from the dungeon, and then he'll be able to respawn at the pyramid, which is faster to get to Palace of Darkness.
Right, but I imagine he'd be heading for Ice Palace next unless he gets the bow.
Although that is a faster way to get back to Ice Palace as well. There's definitely arguments going to Ice Palace, or arguments going to Palace of Darkness, because pod is usually a pretty quick check to see if you're bow locked. Most of the time, there's going to be a key in that first chest, and you don't wind committing. And even if you're locked out, you're not committing very deep to the dungeon to begin with.
No, but you do have to walk back to Palace of Darkness at that point. And that is not a terribly pleasant walk. And if you're good at your bomb jumps in Ice Palace, it really doesn't make a huge difference actually if you're in go mode or not. If you can bomb jump that hole in the room above the big chest, you can pretty easily get back and forth. Beater, by the way, also skipped the left side.
So it looks like both of them appear to be using the the Swamp Palace route that seems to be new in this tournament. Unfortunately, nothing for Rambler, so he will mirror back, and we will see where he goes from here.
Go check the Bombos tablet. This way you can.
This is kind of an interesting.
Gary's chest.
This is kind of an interesting call because normally you would want to route this with Gary's chest, but he is in the area.
Oh, he has no flute. Yeah, normally that I would say would make a difference if he had the flute. He'd just mirror and fly, but no flute. Where's he going?
Did he get both of the items out of desert?
I don't think so. Like, I don't know where else he would be going here.
This is an interesting call. But if there's something big here, this could really solidify his lead.
That's what it was. The key was in here. This is a pretty enormous gamble. I'm a little surprised he's not heading into at least either to clear out Ice Palace or to.
Looks like Beater is taking the Whirlpool by Swamp Palace to get back to turning in the Mushroom. That's a area that's a Whirlpool that you very rarely see visited. Rambler finding Red Nail in Desert. Probably not disappointed to see that, but it's not really what he wanted to find.
It's a nice to have item. Beater, meanwhile, going to get to Blue Potion if all is here.
I do not blame him at all. You'll never know when you'll need a Blue Potion, especially in the late game.
So, is Rambler gonna go clear out Lambos?
Probably, because if he's still in here, then that means that Lambos have the other item. Rambler must think he's behind.
And he's just taking wild, kind of big gambles here.
The only reason why you would make this play at this point is if you feel you're behind. I can definitely see why he thinks he would be behind, just because of the way things have fallen for him or the way the items have fallen, that it's been a pretty straightforward seed, and he may not be comfortable with Beater's level of execution. And both of them have had great execution.
They've both been almost perfect. He may feel like because he had to double dip Zora that he's behind. It's single events like that will stick in a runner's mind, as opposed to just the better routing decisions he made overall than Beater, which those are many small things adding up, but just it'll stick in your mind that you had to go all the way back to Zora twice.
So we are about to see if there is something important here. Almost one cycling Landmos with Fire Rod. That's very difficult to do. And Beater has an early key. Rambler finding a heart container in a desert. So now if he didn't feel he was behind before, he's got to feel he's behind now. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here.
No, not only does he feel he's behind, he is behind. Beater having a little bit of execution stuff with Ice Palace.
Ice Palace is a difficult dungeon.
And Rambler's gonna check out Dark Death Mountain. With the hook shot, that's another 6 chests.
7.
Oh, yes, the Spike Cave.
Spike Cave is very easy to forget about, and we have seen a progression in Spike Cave make the difference in many, many races in past tournaments.
Peter having a little bit of problem with this bomb jump. This bomb jump, probably the most important trick you can learn in any type of speedrun in this game.
Oh, absolutely. This bomb jump alone in the NMG route saves 5 minutes.
I would say this is almost the first trick you want to learn, the first piece of tech. Obviously, learn the game like the back of your hand first before you try to speedrun this. But in terms of tech, it's more important than any fake flipper, any fake powder, or anything like that. Rambler's gonna check out what is on the Turtle Rock. It is ether, so we have the medallion for Turtle Rock.
So I think the only hope of this being a pedestal required seed is the bow.
There's no hope of that because it was checked and it was bombs. Oh, the cane of Samaria.
There's the red cane. So I think all we're looking for is a bow.
Yes, we are.
There it is.
Ooh.
There it is. Dark Death Mountain paying off huge for Rambler.
So here's the question. If Beater goes up to Dark Death Mountain after this, he maintains a lead. If he leaves this...
I'm a little curious as to why Rambler didn't open up Turtle Rock and do that dungeon while he was up there. He has to return to that area anyway.
Because he's in go mode and you can just ride it in with Ganon's Tower at that point. That's what I would say, at least. I mean, I believe he's in go mode. Am I wrong?
I don't believe there's anything else that can stop him, so he just has to clean up Pod and Eastern, which he'll be able to combo nicely. And then he'll just have Ice and T-Rock. And T-Rock doesn't make that much of a difference whether you're in go mode or not, just because of the way the key logic tends to be in the dungeon. So, if Beater, as soon as he's done with Ice Palace, goes to Dark Death Mountain, then we will have ourselves quite a race. But that needs to be the next place that he goes.
Yeah, Rambler will be doing Ice Palace in go mode, which again will be a little bit faster. You're taking a slightly longer route than trying to bomb jump to get all the chests in Ice Palace.
But overall, I definitely do approve of the speed of this seed.
This is a nice fast seed, but not so linear as to basically not be a randomizer.
Most of the random aspects, or the routing aspects, surprisingly, in the seed were in the light world. The dark world felt pretty linear.
Oh yeah, Cold Stare with Blue Mail is not a fun time.
Beater already going through that potion that he bought, so with the health situation the way it is, and Beater missing out on that red mail, that can make a difference climbing GT and in the Ganon fight as well.
So here's the biggest moment in this race so far. What does Beater do right after this screen?
And even from his perspective, Dark Death Mountain is a pretty good play, and it looks like that's where he's headed. If he's going to Light World and saving and quitting. Yes,
That
he's
is
headed right
exactly
there.
where he's going.
So we have ourselves a race.
I've got a question for you. What is Rambler doing?
Probably he might be looking for another bottle because he doesn't have any safeties right now. He might be looking for a bottle with potion in it. He did find the powder.
Has he not found the big key yet? He hasn't found the big key yet. It just got confirmed, actually.
But even if he had the big key, it's definitely something. He may want another bottle. And I'm actually a little surprised that he didn't try to get fairies in that room with the room with the 2 chests that he was in. Because if you do bomb to the right, there are 3 fairies over there. And even with red mail, Rambler's health situation for the end of the game isn't that great.
I honestly didn't remember there were fairies there, so it's possible he didn't either.
That's one piece of information that, depending on the seed type that you get, can be very important to keep in mind, is where all the hidden fairy fountains are in dungeons.
Peter gonna get his bow and cane. I wonder if he makes the Turtle Rock play, or if he hits on back down and goes into pod right away. And then
it's more of a runner preference thing than anything else.
I think so too. I personally prefer to always save Turtle Rock for very last if I can. Maybe you get a 3rd shield. Maybe you get the red mail because Peter doesn't know where it is. Maybe you get more hearts. Turtle Rock is not a fun dungeon to do at low percent.
Well, these runners are in far from low percent conditions.
Right.
And it looks like a Beater is going to complete Turtle Rock now, so we will see if this routing difference shouldn't be too big of a deal, because both of them need to complete all 3 remaining dungeons anyway. But if there is a good item in here, that could definitely help Beater. I would say overall, Rambler has probably a slight lead, but it's certainly not anything that a Beater couldn't overcome at this point.
I don't... unless Beater hasn't gotten the big key out of Eastern Palace, I don't know if I agree with you, because Rambler still has to do the entirety of Ice Palace. Now, he can go mode it, so it's going to be faster. But I don't think it's faster enough. It's very, very, very close, no matter which way you slice it, though.
It's definitely close enough that execution could make a difference. And we have an immediate big key in Turtle Rock, so we will see how good these runners' key counting skills are for Turtle Rock, because depending on the way the key logic is, they may be able to skip a few chests.
Remember making short work of Helmasaur.
But execution-wise, both of these runners have been pretty on point. Nice Cane of Burn-a-Dash from Beater to get through the roller room.
Good, and again. Yeah, no, Beater is actually, I believe, a full dungeon ahead. Neither of them have done Eastern Palace yet. How much would you say being able to go mode Ice Palace is worth? In terms of dungeons?
It's pretty significant because you're not checking the basement, or not the basement, but you're not checking the east side where the big key is in vanilla. Because, well, in this case, it won't be as big of a deal because we had early key. So the amount of time difference between Go Mode Ice Palace and Full Clear Ice Palace really depends on early key.
Yeah. So I would say it's about a half a dungeon of difference because of the early key. Otherwise, I would say almost 3/4 of a dungeon. And Beater did go a long way to go to the iced tea room. He did go all the way down and back up. Rambler definitely won't have to do that.
So it'll be interesting to see how close it is.
But Beater, with no safety items, having a little bit of trouble in Turtle Rock, down to 3 hearts with Blue Mail.
And with 3 hearts and Blue Mail, a Trinex Bop will kill him.
Right. I would expect him to open up the escape valve at least.
With his current item situation, there's no reason not to do that.
Unless it's just skip Laser Bridge, maybe, but...
Even then, unless he runs into... No, he doesn't even have powder.
Nope. Beater, I don't believe was doing that to check the chest or anything. I think he just wanted the death spot.
Rambler heading over to Ice Palace. And Beater has all the keys he needs, I believe. So if he goes into the laser bridge room, it will be just to open the valve up. And at this point, I think you have to.
At this point, not only I think you have to, I think you do it and you take an intentional death. Opting to skip the magic refill. That's actually not bad when you don't need the laser bridge.
Good use of the hook shot by Beater to avoid the fire bars in the dark room in Turtle Rock. That room is very difficult to learn without the lantern.
It's also, I would imagine, it'd be fairly rare that you would do that without the lantern.
I've seen it come up a few times, but it's pretty rare not to have the lantern for Turtle Rock.
Done a race earlier today, but it's not very common. I haven't learned how to do it, and they probably wouldn't do it. Yep, Beater is taking the intentional death to get the heart refill.
So that should give him 7?
6.
No, only 6. Just 6. But 6, as long as he is careful in the Trinex fight, should be plenty of health. And if he needs to, I believe there are a couple of hearts and pots he can pick up along the way as well.
With the half magic, he can also spend some time in cape mode near the end.
That's not really the threatening part of the fight, especially with Tempered. The threatening part of the fight is when you need to actually use your ice and fire rods, and when you're using those 2 weapons as your primary source of damage in the fight, using the cape is not an option.
Oh yeah, when you're in a point where you're nearing the end of the fight and you're panicking, it sure becomes a threatening part of the fight.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he put on his cape, but with Tempered Sword...
Oh wow, Rambler's having big problems with the bomb jump.
He's gonna put on that cape.
He ran out of heart.
Or the cane, rather. Beater does take down Trinex.
Oh no, Rambler ran out of health on the bomb jump, and he's gonna have to do this dungeon vanilla.
That's pretty significant. So this also means that because he's doing this dungeon of vanilla, he's going to need to open more chests, because if you don't do the Ice Palace bomb jump, then you have to get the big key.
Absolutely. I would have... I think you're almost better off just mirroring and getting more health and coming back in than doing this. Or just turning around, even.
I don't even remember where the big key was in Ice Palace. The farther that is up the east side, the worse that is for Rambler.
Peter gonna go complete his last 2 dungeons.
So it looks like it's going to wind up being... Oh, there it is. There it is. He has his big key. So it looks like it's going to wind up being a Turtle Rock versus Eastern Palace and Pod, which is pretty comparable.
These 2 dungeons in Pod, and also the walk back up to Ganon's Tower. See, that's about the same, yeah.
So we should have a pretty exciting Ganon's Tower. It will come down to which way they go in GT, as well as just general execution. This has been a really exciting race the whole way through.
This cult stair should not pose too much difficulty with the red mail and the tempered sword and the fire rod and half magic. Peter taking the same route that Rambler took in this dungeon.
Rambler needs to watch his health. He's down to 3 hearts. Can't take too many more hits.
He's okay.
Does manage to clear out Cold Stairs, so now it'll just be a trip to Turtle Rock. And even blue mail versus red mail could come into play as well.
Yeah, absolutely on Ganon. With no flute to quickly go get a potion. That's yeah.
I would actually not be surprised to see Rambler possibly visit the potion shop in Dark Death Mountain to pick up a red potion before going into Turtle Rock.
Well, there's the money.
That's enough.
Go for Beater.
That shop is a shop. It's in the cave that's right next to the bottom entrance to Super Bunny Cave. It's a cave that I see a lot of players forget about.
No, and it's also if you're already done Turtle Rock, that's pretty much one of the faster ways to get up to Ganon's Tower anyway.
So you can just pop into that cave and pick up a potion.
Yep.
It is a little bit longer going through Super Bunny Cave rather than going up the west side and crossing the bridge where you would use the hammer. But in this situation, you may need to consider taking a little bit of extra time to get that safety, especially considering that your health total is not great.
This is pretty low health for endgame. The only downside is that the potion you really want to buy there would be the green potion, considering your half magic and your safety items. And just sit in front of Ganon and swing a sword with the magic cape on is always nice.
It's still something to consider, especially in Beater's case, because of his defense situation.
Oh, yeah.
Rambler probably doesn't need a potion. It certainly wouldn't hurt, but a Beater would be the one that, if he remembers that that potion shop is a thing, would be more likely to use it.
His bottle is filled with a fairy, I noticed, so I don't know if he's gonna even try.
And if he needs to, he can also bonk across the pit right before Gauntlet to pick up fairies.
Yeah. Argue for Ganon, the fairy might be even better than having a red potion because you can use some blink time to hit him.
True, and a potion versus a fairy at his defense level only makes a difference of 1 hit.
A Beater on his final dungeon. As is Rambler, it's just the difference is that Beater's doing the vanilla first dungeon and Rambler's doing the last one. There's a certain symmetry to that.
It really won't be apparent who is in the lead until they both make it to Ganon's Tower, though. This is... And even then, it'll probably still be too close to call.
Routing difference in Ganon's Tower, Beater having trouble with Ganon, that make a big difference.
And even just general execution in Ganon's Tower, we've seen Gauntlet turn into a disaster in many previous runs.
I've watched a very close race become not close quickly because someone forgot to walk up with a key today.
I think we've all done that before.
We've all done that. It is the worst feeling in the world, but it's a thing that can happen.
And that's worse than flooding the key in the swamp, which is something else we've all done.
Yeah. Alright, that is the 7th crystal for Beater, so we're gonna get this going now. Oh, the robot is not working. So, there are 22 chests in the bottom of Ganon's Tower. One of them has a big key. I want you to list a number between 1 and 22. That number chest, in the order picked up by whoever enters the tower first, so probably Beater, will win a shout-out.
And now is also probably a good time to go into overall strategy when entering Ganon's Tower. Do you immediately do right side if you see if you get an early key?
I have a set route. I open the 2 right side chests. If one of them has a key, I do the right side all the way up until the key in the middle pots, and then I will switch to doing the entire left side. It's out of superstition at this point for me.
That's arguably the most efficient way to clear. But again, it depends on how you feel, because these runners are about 96 minutes into the seed, and this has not been a very difficult seed in terms of routing. Not a lot that could really trip the runners up. So depending on whether they feel ahead or behind, that will determine any deviations from the standard route through Ganon's Tower. And it looks like a Beater is entering Ganon's Tower while a Rambler is finishing up a beautiful Trinex fight. So I would say at this point there's around a minute of difference.
Oh, Beater gonna go straight left after checking 2 chests. Yeah, if Rambler goes all the way right, this could get very interesting very quickly.
So the difference appears to be a little less than a minute, somewhere between 50 seconds and a minute, and that's definitely something that's not insurmountable, but Beater definitely has the advantage here.
Well, through 7 chests for Beater, that is not... There's no item. No item, no big key.
Rambler's going right side.
Rambler is going right side.
If the big key is over here, that's huge for him.
For purposes of the game, we're going to be counting off the Beater, but Rambler may retake the lead here. Watch it be in the ISR modes, and he just opts to beat him from the right side. It's a virtual tie. Here we go. Oh, and the big key is in the randomizer room. Beater is going to take a lead up into the tower, part of Ganon's tower. If I'm not mistaken, that was, what was that, 10, 11? NYRambler's gotta move.
Dark Magician's worst case scenario, striking in this seed. But at this point, this is Beater's race to lose.
Lose it he still can. That, like, remember, blue mail and Ganon don't mix real well. And no powder.
I imagine Beater will probably stop for fairies here. Looks like it.
But see it this close, that's a precious 30 seconds. Oh, maybe like 20.
No, not even that. Maybe 10. But with his health situation, it was absolutely the correct play to...
Oh, I don't disagree.
Get those. Beater getting a nice full magic drop in the first room of Gauntlet, so he'll be able to clear out these rooms with the fire rod, doing a great job of it so far. Wonderful second and third room. And that Beater is taking these rooms on with the fire rod shows his no major glitches experience. You'll see a handful of runners that are newer to the randomizer. Well, he doesn't have the option because he doesn't have the Bombos medallion, but you'll see some newer runners that will use Bombos on the Gauntlet. And Rambler picking up his big key, so he'll be about a floor and a half behind.
Personally, unless they have the Master Sword, I generally just try to sword these guys down because I'm not very good with the Fire Rod.
There are a lot of different ways to handle Gauntlet. If you're not confident in your ability to aim with the Fire Rod or deal with the Stalfos, because hitting Stalfos with the sword is not the easiest thing to do either. Bombos is definitely the most consistent way to take out the room, even though it's slow. And Beater missing with the Cane of Samaria does manage to two-cycle the Wizard Broom. We'll be coming up to the Torch Room with ample magic. Should be able to get through the rest of Ganon's tower without difficulty.
Trying to conserve a bit of magic. So I don't have to pick up the pot in this laser room. But well, anyway.
Well, with this health situation, the extra heart couldn't hurt either. And that actually does give him enough health so that he can take an extra hit on Ganon.
Oh, at long last, the Bloomerang.
All hail.
I would open every chest at this point, praying for a heart or a red mail. Except for maybe that one, because that was a little dangerous.
A heart wouldn't actually make a difference, because Ganon's attacks do 3 damage. Right. Or 3 hearts of damage. So I can see the argument in not searching for it as well, which is what he is doing. Does take a fall to Moldorm, so he will regenerate all of his health.
This is gonna tighten this race up a little bit.
But it'll still come down to how well Beater is going to be able to deal with Ganon with not ideal defense.
But folks, don't touch that dial and buckle your seatbelts. This is gonna be a close one. A little bit of trouble with the helmet sword bumpers.
This is a very difficult room.
This is a rough room, yeah.
But Beater does make it through. And he needs to watch his health in the Aga 2 fight as well, because whatever health he has coming out of this is going to be what he'll have left for Ganon. I believe he does have a single fairy.
He has 1 fairy.
And unfortunately, a swing and a miss for the second cycle. Having a really rough Aga 2.
Third cycle.
Well, that last cycle did not exactly give him the easiest of patterns. This Aga 2 is actually being really rude.
A little less rude on that cycle. Very less rude on this cycle.
Does take Aga 2 down. And Rambler not too far back, so a death or a fall to Ganon could make all the difference.
Yeah, this Ganon fight is your race, pretty much.
And Beater only has 5.5 hearts.
Oh, Rambler falls!
At least it was at the start of the fight and not at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
So, given that Beater has 1 fairy, he does not exactly have a lot to play with here. Can take a total of... Well, that's 1 less hit he can take. He can only take, I think, 3 hits. So, at this point, he is effectively fighting Ganon under very similar conditions that you would fight him in the low percent run as far as defense goes.
Pretty smart use of the cape there. If he gets the torch glitch, the magic won't be a real problem. goes Rambler on Aga 2.
We'll see if he's able to deal with it any better, but these were nasty patterns from Aga 2.
Okay, and having some teleport fun, but it'll be the same for both seeds. Alright, gets the torch glitch. This is all about execution now. Whoa!
Very close to taking a fall.
Alright, he's just one hit away. Beater is going to take this race. Very well done. Great execution at low percent. Unless he falls. Okay.
And Rambler getting the bad news just as he starts the Ganon fight.
This seed doesn't have anything to apologize for.
No, not at all. This is one of the most straightforward seeds I've ever seen, actually.
That was a close, exciting race. We're going to be separated by about a minute and a half at the most.
Rambler not quite getting enough damage on Ganon for a one-cycle phase 2. Meanwhile, Rambler having a solid Ganon fight of his own.
We're going to try to get in Beater and after this Rambler in for an interview.
With a difference of... looks like it's going to be about... I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I think that might have been on purpose. I want to say that was on purpose.
Maybe he wasn't happy with the execution on his Ganon and wanted to show us how quickly he could win the fight.
Joining us is our winner, SirBeaterOfArse. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. What's going on?
You're going to want to watch this one back because this was very, very exciting. Oh, I see. Oh, you know why he fell off there? Because Rambler just wanted to demonstrate what God Corner looked like.
Yep. You just missed Rambler. What sure seems like purposely falling after he had beaten Ganon.
So this looks pretty close. What seemed to be the difference?
The only real difference in there were two big differences in routing. The first was the double dip of Zora, like the Zora area, and then the second was dungeon order.
Rambler did Desert Palace when he didn't need to.
Yeah, I got the flippers, and that immediately made me think of going up to Zora, and then I was like, all right, well, let's get the money to go do that. So I wanted to go do Houlihan, and then I realized the easy setup for it doesn't work with flippers. That was smart.
Rambler a little low on magic.
We can always fall and try again. Ooh, the last second double. I don't know if he had enough magic to even lamp those two.
Yeah, he did. With half magic, you have 64 charges and a full bar.
Right. Okay. All right, congratulations to Rambler. We're gonna pull him in for an interview.
Even so, 152 is not a bad time on a seed like this.
All right, Rambler. The first question I have for you is, did you do that on purpose at the end?
I'm gonna say yes, just to cover myself.
GG, Rambler, GG.
That was close. I mean, a race had a similar ending earlier today, where one person ended as the other one was entering Ganon.
I was starting to feel really nervous that I was behind or missed something because the light world at the beginning was so dry. I just felt like I had to have missed a spot or something, and I was getting really nervous.
Yeah, well, I took a gamble, and after Swamp, I went to Bamos and cleared out Desert before I went up to Death Mountain.
That actually wound up being the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was a calculated gamble because we got the boots around that time. Like in that same thing, just like, you know what, boots blocked all the desert. Let me just see what's happening there. I found red mail in there, which helped a little bit.
Yeah, I went right from Swamp to I did Bombo's Tablet also, but then I jumped down and grabbed half magic, did ice, and then went up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, I did. I grabbed half magic before going to Swamp.
Other than Dungeon Order and the double dipping of Zora, both of you played a near identical race.
Yeah, I had 460 rupees when I went to Zora the first time, and then once I cleared out everything else, and literally all that was left was Zora. Like, Aghanim wasn't in the logic. I was like, all right, hammer or lamps here.
But once you got past the light world, the logic was pretty clear cut on which way you were supposed to go. Just go to Aga 1 and then make a counterclockwise circle around Dark World, taking care of every dungeon you needed to as you went.
Well, the one thing that I was hoping was that I went to Hookshot Cave well before he did.
Both of you went at about the same time you had access to it.
Yeah, because we got the mitts out of Swamp, and I was like, you know what, there's a lot of things to do in the overworld, but I think this mitts tells me I should... I went up there mainly to check what Turtle Rock was, to see if I need a Bombos or not. And then I was like, all right, let me check everything else that's here, and then the two items needed for Go Mode were in the same place, so that was convenient.
Yeah, I figured with the amount of items we needed left, I was probably going to end up having to do ice anyway, so I made sure I got it cleared, and then I was planning on going right up there afterwards, pretty much regardless. So that was a pretty hype hookshot cave.
I was just nervous, and it actually came back to matter that I was going to fail the bomb jump in ice, and I wound up looking for the big key, and luckily it was not that far away. It was in the IST room. So I didn't lose too much time because I went in with the king.
Early key helps with that.
Yeah, I skipped the penguin chest room, so it didn't really matter. I was like, all right, if I get the bomb jump, whatever. Like, if the penguin chest room had the big key, I was kind of screwed. That was the only way. I was really totally messed up there. But yeah, the logic in the light world was absolutely ridiculous. Forcing us to Aga. Like, Zora gave us a lamp, and that was just the biggest debate of all time because it sent us to light world Death Mountain, which had absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we were saying with all the items that could be on Zora, the lamp would probably be the least friendly one, just because now all of a sudden you are a real threat for Aga 1.
Yeah, I was hoping for Hammer, because Hammer also gave us Dark World access. Nonetheless, Hammer was in a spot that usually a lot of runners forget, but the way this seed played out, you kind of had to check it out on the way to the way you were out of the Dark World, once you got to Dark World.
It would have been pretty bad not to check that.
That is one nice thing about the Aga 1 required seeds, is the way the logic tends to work is whenever you do Aga 1, you tend to have a lot of the things necessary to be able to check all those pesky locations in North Dark World. North Dark World is one of those areas that can be extremely difficult to route.
Yesterday there was I did a regular race, and Hookshot was there, but because it wasn't an Egg Seed, everyone forgot about it.
So with that, Beater, that puts you at 1-0 in this tournament. In order to move on to the bracket, you will need most likely no more than 2 losses.
Unless there's a huge amount of dropouts, yes, it will take no more than 2 losses.
And actually, with 0 dropouts, which is astronomically unlikely to happen, but with 0 dropouts, there will actually be a clean cut to 5-2.
I think there will be no dropouts in the top half at least. If you still have a chance of winning, you're gonna stick around. There's also a big wait list.
Yeah, I think the waitlist actually closed 10 minutes ago. I can speak because I've been seeing what's going on behind the scenes, obviously. Insider information. Shh.
Nobody's listening. It's just us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Willard.
Rambler is one of our commentator moderators, and thank you very much for helping out.
You don't realize how much stress I've been going through the last 3 days because of all the races going on in the afternoon when there's not a lot of people available because most of America is working at that time.
Well, the good news is that there's 256 races for 7 straight weeks.
Gee, thanks. Anyways, GG to SirBeater. We race each other a few times, and I figured it was going to be a close match because usually we go back and forth on who beats who in these races. So I figured it was going to be a good match.
Yeah.
And it came out exactly as I figured it would. It was a very close race.
We seem to be around the same level usually, and this I think will be a fun one to watch the VOD back.
Oh, absolutely! This was amazing to call.
This was a great race to call. This was so much fun.
And with that, both of our runners, commentator, both runners, my co-commentator, Ridley Dragon, our tracker, all the people behind the scenes to make this tournament possible. You should give all of them a follow.
Yeah, thanks to all you guys for helping put this on. It's always a blast to plan.
And speaking of giving people a follow, don't forget to give a subscription to all 6 speed gaming channels, speed gaming 1 through 6, or donate to our Patreon or cheer for some bits. Also, definitely, without a doubt, follow my awesome co-commentator Ryko Ryder.
Thank you. And for a Rambler in particular, if you like seeing Tetris Attack or Puzzle League style games, Rambler does run Tetris Attack, so that is another reason to follow him as well.
Only when I need a cooldown from Zelda Randomizer and I need to I have a half hour to kill. Let's try to get PBs and Tetris Attack. Why not?
And with that, both of our runners have finished. So Ridley, take it away.
All right, let's give a big thanks to everybody. Stick around, not on this challenge necessarily, but on the Speed Gaming Network. On Speed Gaming 3, we have going on at 1 a.m. the Benjanator vs. Dracaris, and right now on Speed Gaming 2 we have Parisian Player versus Zero X in Link to the Past Randomizer. Also have plenty of other things happening here on the Speed Gaming Network. So give them all a subscription, give them a follow. And I think that will about do it for us. So I have been Ridley Dragon. This has been
and I am Riker Ryder. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.